Robert, what are you doing? It's time to start.
I just gotta beat this one boss in Undertale.
Hello YouTubians, this is the Review Dude here. Joining you behind the camera is Zombiexp, and then to this direction we have
Skyward Robert.
And today on the Review Dude we are looking at the 2DS. Alright, today as I've already mentioned we are talking about the Nintendo 2DS. Well, let's talk a little bit about this system. Back in 2011 when the system was released, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was finally abolished in the military, which was a great victory for our country. Sexy and I Know It was on the top of the charts.
And don't forget Pokemon Black and White, it's the greatest thing.
Yeah, because as we all know, you gotta catch them all.
So when the Nintendo 2DS came out, parents were complaining to Nintendo about the 3D in the 3DS hurting their kids' eyes. And also parents complained that the clamshell design breaks too easily. But when you're a kid, when do you not break your stuff? Anyways, Nintendo answered that cry, and they decided to make it flat and make it 2D.
Now let's talk about price. This one here I ended up trading for, so I really can't say much about price. But from the research I've done online, this system here usually goes for a little less than $100, usually bundled with either a Zelda game or a copy of Mario Kart 7. This one here happened to come with Mario Kart 7. Is it worth what you pay for it? Well, seeming that the new 3DS costs $200 and some, I'd say that this right here is a good alternative. Even though it does not have the 3D function and it takes a little getting used to hold, I'd say it's worth every penny due to the fact that it can play all the games for the 3DS itself.
So now let's go over a couple bogus problems. The first one I hear a lot is its size. They say it's way too big. Well, honestly, you can't complain because we all know you have them tablets and phablets, which are way bigger. Anyways, let's discuss some older systems and some modern ones that were big.
Alright, let's add a little bit of color to your lives with the Game Boy Color. First off, it is taller than the 2DS. It is thicker than the 2DS, even at its fattest point. Yes, it can be argued it is wider this way, but who cares? It's still easily portable. Now let's talk about something a little bit more advanced. The Game Boy Advance. It is thicker than the 2DS. It is wider than the 2DS. But yeah, the 2DS is bigger this way, but still not that bad. Now, sticking to our Nintendo theme, let's talk to the big boy on campus, the 3DS XL. It is wider. It is thicker, and when open, it is quite bigger. It dwarfs the 2DS, yet no one complains about this system. Now, I do understand people buy this system for its size, but still, my argument is made. If people want large consoles, then why is the 2DS a problem? And you know what? For those people that want to complain about size, maybe you should go back to the 90s and have some fun with this. This giant monster that swallowed the 2DS is Sega's attempt at a game system, the Sega Game Gear. It is quite a bit thicker. It is wider. It is taller than the 2DS, and it chews through batteries more than your cat chews through your mom's shoes. This thing was a monster, and no one complained about the size back in its day, as far as I can remember.
Okay, the next problem we hear is it's mono. In a world where stereo is big, yeah, you could say that, but honestly, a lot of older systems had mono, like the Game Boy Advance. Nobody really complained. And if mono is done right, which Nintendo is good at doing things right, it can sound just as good as any other game system or any device out there. So, the next thing is the setup. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it's got an annoying guide, constantly treating you like a child because it's way too dumbed down. It's very repetitive, it says a lot of same things over, and it's just constantly pestering you about parental controls. Could be better, but for what the price is, it's not bad.
Alright, now talking a little bit about the software. What can be said about it? As far as I have seen on these systems, it seems to be pretty well. Like, you have folders so you can organize stuff. You have your shop, you have your game. There's not really much to complain about. Adding friends is incredibly easy. If you don't know how to do it, there's plenty of tutorials online that will teach you how to do so. Now, one thing I do have to complain about is Nintendo. Now, this isn't a huge thing, but I don't like the fact that Nintendo had discontinued the software and left it on there instead of having it removed in one of the updates. And the only other real thing I'd like to complain about as far as the software is concerned, I'm not a major programmer, but I don't think this would be too hard to fix. When you turn on the camera, it still says Nintendo 3DS instead of 2DS. I feel like it wouldn't have been too hard to change out that one little JPEG or whatever it happens to be, that little picture, to have it actually say 2DS.
And it works with any app like that too. It would be very simple to fix.
Now, one thing I will say I like about the 2DS, to access the camera, you don't have to sit there and go poke, 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 poke all day long trying to get to it. If you don't feel like going to the interface, click, you got the camera up, you're good to go. Alright, now let's talk a little bit about the physical aspects of the 2DS. In some of the large hands, it fits pretty comfortable. With some of the smaller, it may be a little less comfortable. Currently, you are standing at my friend Zombiexp's hands, holding my Nintendo 2DS. First thing I want to talk about is the little thumbstick over to the left. It does alright, it's pretty well, it grips your thumb rather well when you're playing on it. My only complaint is I wish the rubber was just a little bit tougher because it gets scratched really easily. Underneath that, we see the Nintendo D-pad. The D-pad on the Nintendo 2DS, it's okay. It's not great, it's okay. I honestly prefer the one on the Game Boy Advance better, but that's just me personally. Over onto the side, you see the X, Y, A, B buttons. They feel pretty firm when you click them. I wish they were just a little bigger, but seeing how big the system already is, I understand why they name the size they are. You have your standard underneath them start and select buttons. Under that, you have power and a sleep switch. I kind of sort of wish they would have integrated the sleep function with the power button, or made it one big switch, as like you click it one way, it goes to power, the other way into sleep, middle turns it off.
Like the PSP.
Yeah. But it works, and then in the center you got your home button, and then again over to the left you have your mic, and then up at top you have the camera. The front-facing camera ain't the greatest, but you know what, for a $100 system, it's a pretty alright camera. Up at top you have these two massive shoulder buttons. Now, my complaints about the shoulder buttons is they have way too much travel, and after just a little bit of use, they start to squeak. They wear out rather quickly. And then on the rear, if my buddy wouldn't mind flipping the system over, you will see that there are two cameras. Now, even though the 2DS cannot use 3D functionality, there's a reason that the two cameras are there. They are the cameras that the 3DS uses to capture 3D pictures. A lot of games still use these cameras, and because they wanted to make the system compatible with all Nintendo games, well, all Nintendo DS games, they were kind of made to have that extra camera in there so all games would run properly.
And there's one last thing I want to say. The volume switch can, sometimes get in the way. I mean, yeah, it's good, but when you're playing rhythm games, it's very easy to hit. But overall, that's good.
Alright, as far as physical aspects, that's really all we have to say. And if there's anything that you would have liked us to talk about as far as physically with this system is concerned, please leave a comment below. So in conclusion, that's been our review of the Nintendo 2DS system. Now, this video has been brought to you by the letter S for subscribe. Click that button down below, and you all have a wonderful day.